Good morning. I'm Mark Nelson, Vice President of the Oklahoma City Fraternal Order of Police, here with our President, John George. 2017 was a landmark year for our organization and the men and women of the Oklahoma City Police Department. We want to take a few minutes to reflect on the progress that we made. John, what stands out in your mind maybe is most significant from last year?
Without a doubt, it was the quarter-cent sales tax increase. We've been fighting long and hard to get additional manpower here. We were about 200 officers short. With the citizens' help, we partnered with the chamber and the city, and the tax was passed. And that's going to hire 129 additional officers, which will put us about 1,235 of the little over 1,300 that we need. But it puts us on a path over the next 4 to 5 years to get us there. I mean, we're still going to be shorthanded along the way, but I think there's some things we can do in the meantime to fix that.
Yeah, it was exciting earlier this week to learn that the initial budget proposal looks like it will include all 129 officers, the 1,235 that we had talked about last fall. So we'll still be dealing with the short-term issues of minimum staffing. There's patrol shifts that on a daily basis, whether it's the morning shift, the noon shift, the evening shift, that function well below a safe minimum of what we would consider safe. So having all of these funds in the budget will allow for more officers in high crime areas. It will allow for a safe number of officers, both for the public to remain safe and then for officers to back each other up as well. So we're excited about that. Again, if you're just now tuning in, I'm Mark Nelson, Vice President of the FOP, here with John George, our President, and talking about types of calls that officers take and patrol issues. Mental health calls, calls for service from mental health consumers, are probably one of the most frequent type of calls that come into dispatch and that our officers respond to. What are some of the things that they face, the challenges that they face in dealing with those calls, and then tell us how you ended up in New York City trying to advocate for more funding.
Yeah, the mental health crisis in this city and really across the country, and it's due to a lack of funding a lot of times. There's no beds, there's no facilities for the mental health consumers. And right. So then we have to deal with them as police officers at their worst time when they're having an episode. And that leads to a lot of our use of forces and unfortunately sometimes even our deadly encounters. So yeah, the FOP and law enforcement across the country are advocating for more training, for more funds. And that got me in New York City with labor leaders, police labor leaders from coast to coast, California to Florida to New York City. And we did a press conference to try to bring light to this, that we need more funding for mental health issues and more funding for training.
Right.
Luckily here in Oklahoma City, we have a great crisis intervention team. They do a lot of training here, but that's not the case statewide or across the country. But to make this a priority, even one of our own members, Corey Nooner, at our national FOP conference this summer, he authored a resolution to call more attention to this, and that's backed by 330,000 police officers nationwide. So,
right.
But this is a great deal that we need to bring this up, but we also need the legislature's help on this as well.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. We know that our legislature here has their fair share of challenges and had their fair share of challenges last year in finding funding for core services. There were many groups that advocated for more mental health funding, more mental health training for law enforcement. So we look forward to continue working with our elected officials. And here in Oklahoma City, some huge advocates and proponents of public safety and law enforcement are Representative John Eccles, Representative Chris Kennedy. Both of those gentlemen worked tirelessly, both on behalf of citizens, public safety, and mental health overall. We look forward to continue working with them. Senator Jack Fry from the metro area, Midwest City, Oklahoma City area has been a huge help. I also want to mention Ross Ford. So Ross Ford is a FOP member, the second one ever elected to the state legislature. He represents House District 76. He's a member of the Tulsa FOP, just right up the turnpike. So we're very excited about what his experience as a law enforcement officer will bring to the Capitol in trying to bridge that gap between law enforcement and the public that we serve. Again, if you're just tuning in, I'm Mark Nelson, Vice President of the FOP here in Oklahoma City with John George, our President. And we're speaking of elected officials or talking about them. We had a mayor's forum. We have a mayor's election coming up on February 13th. Our lodge had never done that before, but we held one last fall. Tell us kind of what you think the benefits of that were and how it ultimately led to us endorsing Senator David Holt for our next mayor.
Yeah, I think it was a great thing we did. We invited in the community. We had the two announced candidates at the time, Senator David Holt and County Commissioner Brian Bond, right. Both tremendous supporters of law enforcement, but they answered a lot of questions from the FOP about public safety issues and from the community in general that showed up. It was a really well-attended event.
Agreed.
After that, about 2 or 3 days later, we had our general membership meeting. We had a lot of discussion, and that led to our endorsement.
Right. Our membership, some of the questions that were asked at the forum of both candidates, but specifically as it related to Senator Holt's answering of priorities and where he would put public safety as a priority in this city, it was at the top of the list, and that resonated with our members. Also, when he was asked how he saw himself working with our folks, he mentioned not just the public safety officials, the police or the FOP, but also fire. So we think having a great relationship as it relates to public safety with our elected leaders is paramount to a successful city. We're super excited to endorse Senator Holt. Don't forget to vote February 13th, David Holt for mayor. So that's all we'll say about that. And talking about our members, though, continually about the 1,050 plus members that we represent, that we fight for to make sure that they're taken care of. We started a nonprofit organization, a foundation as we call it, to help our members. Tell us a little bit about this 501c3 and how tax deductible contributions help men and women of the Oklahoma City FOP in their time of need.
Yeah, I mean, our officers are just like everybody else in the community. Our houses burned down, or they're destroyed in tornadoes, and you have those immediate expenses, and we try to help them with that. We're able to get them a check or some cash right away, and unfortunately, like this last year too, we had a lot of illnesses. We had a lot of officers and their families with cancer, and everybody that knows that their family's been touched by that, you have to make a lot of trips across the country for various appointments, and we try to help them with that. So the foundation was something that we saw a need for because our people are always out serving the community. We needed a way that we could help them. Just this year, we're kicking off a campaign with a window decal. Right. Where with a $25 donation, we'll send you a window car decal that you can put on your car to show your support for law enforcement. And I just want to stress that every dollar we bring in goes back to our members in a time of need, and it's a very important resource I think we can provide them.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is very important. We've had dozens, if not maybe a couple hundred of those decals. We pushed them out on social media and people asking for them. So we look forward to continue seeing the support from the community. We cherish it as we currently have it. Talking about the illnesses that our members face, sometimes the inevitable happens as life happens, and an officer dies in the line of duty or a retired member dies. We have a special unit, our Honor Guard, that is just second to none. I could go on and on, but I would like to hear you talk about the Honor Guard and how we ultimately, as an FOP, as an organization, were able to facilitate some much needed training for this unit as they continue to serve our members.
Yeah, our Honor Guard is phenomenal. I get more compliments about them from citizens and from retired officers. They do provide a very valuable service because some of especially our retired officers, they may be separated from our police family for decades, 30, 40 years. And when one passes away, the Honor Guard still goes to their service and does that. And the family it's unbelievable the amount of thank yous we get back for that. But
Absolutely.
It's not just the retired officers, unfortunately. There's line of duty deaths. We were very fortunate not to have one this year in Oklahoma City, but we have them around the state. And our Honor Guard helps facilitate those funerals as well, especially in those smaller communities.
No, you're right. And we are grateful that nobody in the part of the OCPD lost their life in the line of duty this past year, but there were 6 brothers who did die and who did pay the ultimate sacrifice, and we wanted to mention their names. Although it doesn't do justice to just mention their names, we still wanted to pay honor to their memory. DOC Corporal Stephen Jenkins, Tribal Police Officer Nathan Graves, Craig County Deputy Sean Freedom, Tecumseh Police Officer Justin Turney, Logan County Deputy David Wade, and Oklahoma Highway Patrol Lieutenant Donald Meyer. Words are not sufficient to memorialize what those brothers gave. But we want the family and friends of those folks to know that we will not forget the sacrifice that you made, and we will remember you forever. That's a serious topic, but something that moving on to maybe a little more cheerful and a little more lighthearted. Again, reminding if you're just tuning in, kind of drawing this to a close. I'm Mark Nelson with the Oklahoma City FOP here with our president, John George. In addition to serving our members, we also try to give back to the community. And we do that throughout the year, kind of exciting, different themes and different events that we have. In February, we try to surprise a single mom over Valentine's Day. Throughout the summer, we'll do a couple of events. And then, we have a Thanksgiving, Christmas type of finalization to our community involvement every year. We were able to give, or surprise, I should say, Thanksgiving shoppers paying for their groceries at 23rd and King at the Super Saver this Thanksgiving. That was fun. We went to laundromats. And gave people who were there doing laundry a cash gift and some quarters. We were able to go to the On-Q and surprise people with gas. We went to the mall and surprised people, but it culminated on Christmas Eve with our surprising folks at the Southwest Integris Hospital in the ER with several fruit baskets from Edible Arrangements and some gift cards from Starbucks. So the doctors, the nurses, the techs that work on Christmas Eve and the holidays, similar to law enforcement and other public safety officials, it was a big enjoyment for us to be involved with them. And as we're involved with those folks in the community, we're reminded that our members, again, 1,050 plus members, are also members of the community, and they do things and are involved in things just like you are as citizens. One that is a good friend of mine, he's a big supporter of the FOP, and he's very involved in Boy Scouts, is Randy Chapa. He's a troop leader, great guy, great officer. Who are some of the other members that we have that come to mind?
God, it's countless. I mean, one thing we talked about is we're members of the community, and we do things just like everybody else does. One of our members I think about is Brian Piccolo. Right. He's a Mustang High School wrestling coach.
Right.
We have individuals that run in marathons. Charitable marathons like the Memorial Marathon. I think we had over 20-something officers running that last year. Some of them travel across the country. A couple that I think about are Jason Burgess and Lieutenant Sproul, but they're countless. Too many to name.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm going to. Jason Burgess, actually, the irony of him running in a marathon was that a few years ago he was shot on a traffic stop in the foot or in the leg area. He healed from that and is actually now running marathons. So I find that kind of a very enjoyable deal. But we have a couple others.
Yeah, it's not that, they're foster parents. They adopt kids. They're preachers. They do all kinds of things. We had a couple of young officers during the Houston floods, Josh Gershon and Kelsey Lawson, on their own time, took in donations and drove a truckload of donations down to the flood. I guess I just want to stress that we are members of the community just like everyone else. And one thing I want the public to understand is I hear it every day from our members is, they get a cup of coffee bought for them, or they get a thank you, or thank you for your service, or handwritten notes, sometimes meals. And I don't want that to go unnoticed or unsaid, that our officers see that. They see the support from this community. It's valued, and it's very much appreciated.
I couldn't agree more. Yesterday was National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. We received multiple comments, emails, texts, very kind and heartwarming messages of support from our community. And for that, we are grateful, we're appreciative, and we do not take it for granted. Yep. In bringing it to a close, we do want to tell the community, our citizens, that we want to tell you thank you. We want to thank you for having our back. Thank you for having our support, or we thank you for your support. We support you as well. And also that we will continue to serve and protect you. It is an honor for us to do that here in Oklahoma City. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on Facebook, OKC FOP. We wish you a very safe and prosperous 2018.